Madam, if you permit, can I start?
Yeah, the online students are not enrolled yet.
So Sahas Chauhan is there. Sara, put on your video. Chinmay, your video, please. And there are 4 students in class. कौन कौन है ये लोग? Mohana is there. Mohana के बगल में कौन है? चारुल मेहता. चारुल कुमावत, yes. उसके पीछे अभ्युदय and अभ्युदय के बगल में ईशान, right? हाँ ठीक है. और सहस is there, चिन्मय and सारा दास. ठीक है, तो मैडम मैं क्विकली अनाउंस करता हूँ, फिर आप कैरी कीजिएगा विथ योर एजेंडा. So guys, some final announcements for C3 batch, people who are in C3, and some announcements for C4 batch. तो मैं पहले C3 से चालू करता हूँ. So your December attempt is right on the door now. It's like just a couple of weeks away. 3rd December को आप लोगों को आपका SAT attempt देना है ना? People who are in C3 batch. तो कुछ बेसिक अनाउंसमेंट्स हैं वो सुन लो. मैथ्स का सिलेबस खत्म हो गया है, बट देयर इज अ स्मॉल पोर्शन व्हिच यू आर सपोज्ड टू डू विथ मी. मेरे साथ एक छोटा सा इंटरेक्शन बाकी है. सो योर इंग्लिश क्लासेस विल हैपन टुडे, कमिंग संडे व्हिच इज टुमारो. मैं C3 की बात कर रहा हूँ. एंड देन नेक्स्ट सैटरडे. सो इंग्लिश क्लासेस कब कब है? 19th नवंबर, 20th नवंबर एंड 26th नवंबर को इंग्लिश की क्लासेस हैं C3 में, where we finish the syllabus. मैथ्स का जो एक छोटा सा पोर्शन रह गया है, we are doing it tomorrow. You finish your English class at 1:30. एक 15 मिनट्स का ब्रेक मिलेगा. I need 30 minutes. तो 1:45 पे I'll join you on Zoom. जो लोग क्लासरूम में हैं वो क्लासरूम में बैठेंगे. And in next 30 minutes, 1:45 से 2:15, we will complete the maths का सर्वे वाला पोर्शन. I'll do with you. I'll take 30 minutes. तो 2:15 तक हम लोग मैथ्स खत्म करेंगे. बोलो ये सब समझ में आ रहा है? C3, Mohana, are you following all that I am saying? ठीक है. Now coming down to your mock test, you will be able to write your mock test on our testing platform or coming down to Kharghar Center. You have both the options. दोनों में से कोई एक ऑप्शन लो. 23rd November, 27th November and 30th November, ये तीनों दिन पे आपके मॉक टेस्ट होंगे. मॉक टेस्ट 1, 2 and 3. C3 की बात कर रहा हूं मैं. 23rd, 27th and 30th. You can write them on UT Udan, the online testing platform, or you can come down to Kharghar Center and write it physically, pencil paper based format. If you are writing on Udan, it is open throughout the day. आप अपना टाइम डिसाइड करके इसको लिखो और एक बार लिखना चालू करो तो पूरा टेस्ट लिखना पड़ेगा. If you are coming down to Kharghar Center, please ensure that you take 3.5 hours ka time, because that is the time that will be required. Ideally, any time from 10 a.m. in the morning to, let's say, by 4 p.m. you should come down. उसके बीच में आपको आना चाहिए at Kharghar Center and write the test. Because if you are coming at 4, you will be finishing by 7, 7:10, 7:15. Okay, so this is about your mock test. I've told you about your English classes. I've told you about your maths classes. C3, you are also getting one doubt solving session where on one-on-one basis, you can book a slot and you can do your doubt solving with Mrs. Nandini, with myself, Uday. आप हम लोगों में से किसी के साथ अपना डाउट सॉल्विंग, जैसा भी डाउट्स यू हैव, यू मे ब्रिंग योर डाउट्स एंड गेट इट सॉल्व्ड ऑन वन-on-one basis. This is through a sign up link. Doubt solving will happen on 24th and 25th November. इसमें you have an option. Zoom पे कर सकते हो आप, Zoom पे ही करना है. But अगर आप मेरे या उदय सर के साथ कर रहे हैं, if you are doing it with me or Uday sir, then you can also come down to Kharghar. I will be available at Kharghar on 24th November. You will have one-on-one doubt solving. 23rd को first mock लिखोगे और 24th को you can go for a doubt solving session on that mock or any other study material that you may have. इसी तरह से नंदिनी मैडम के साथ 24 नवंबर को जूम बेस्ड इंग्लिश का डाउट सॉल्विंग ले सकते हैं. So Shruti madam will share these sign up links with you on your group. First come first serve में आप आपके slots book कर सकते हो. टाइमिंग के slots हैं whichever is convenient to you. half an hour का one on one. अभी रुको. One on one session आप हमारे साथ लेना where you can solve you can get your doubts solved. Sara, I still don't see your video, so you have to put on your video, Sara. So this is about doubt solving. Coming down to C4, तो C3 के यही अनाउंसमेंट थे. मैं क्वेश्चन आंसर पे आता हूँ. I'll take your questions. C4 पे, so I only see Charul here from C4. No, Caleb is also there now. You are Caleb, right? So आप लोगों के लिए क्या अनाउंसमेंट है? आपके लिए अनाउंसमेंट है कि आपका इंग्लिश पोर्शन विल फिनिश विथ C3 बैच, which is writing and language. Rest of the all everything else will continue. आपका कुछ बंद नहीं हो रहा है. आप सैटरडे संडे आते रहोगे. C3 के साथ राइटिंग एंड लैंग्वेज खत्म होगा. फिर आपके मैथ्स का चैप्टर्स और EBR एविडेंस बेस्ड रीडिंग वो सब चालू होगा. C3 will cease to exist in the sense they will not come for classes, but you guys will come to classes in the same pattern. आपका मॉक टेस्ट होगा सब फरवरी में. So we'll do your mock testing in month of February. तब हम फिर बात करेंगे. Now I am open for questions if you have any questions. Go ahead, Abhyuday.
Sir, from past 2 weeks I was not able to attend the classes. So for the maths lecture which I have missed, what topics how should I cover?
The topics that you have missed, you have 2-3 options. You can go for doubt solving. You do on your own, go for doubt solving, watch video lecture, all the recorded lectures and go for doubt solving. Or what you can do is, if you want, you can also attend this. You are writing December SAT, Abhyuday?
Yes.
Then you don't have a lot of time. तो फिर वो जो lectures आपने miss किया है, go for one-on-one session with Uday sir या मेरे साथ किसी के साथ आप समय लेके one-on-one session में जाओ, where you may not get full lecture, but what you will get is an overview and you can solve your some critical problems. आप उसमें solve कर सकते हो. तो रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर्स देखो और वो फैकल्टी के साथ एक्स्ट्रा one-on-one लेक्चर्स के लिए जाओ. सो व्हाट इज द मेथड? टॉक टू योर ब्रांच कोऑर्डिनेटर और उसको बोलो आपको जिसके साथ लेक्चर चाहिए वो फैकल्टी से बात करके कॉमन टाइम मैच करके आपका लेक्चर लगा देंगे. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन गाइस? इज पाथ फॉरवर्ड क्लियर? यस सारा, गो अहेड.
So the first doubt solving session is on 24th and the second doubt solving session would be on?
So on 24th, you will get doubt solving with me and or Mrs. Nandini. हम दोनों 24th को structured doubt solving session के लिए available हैं. 25th को उदय sir available है. Uday is not there on 25th. He will be on 24th. Uday will be available on 25th. ये मेरे साथ करना है तो फिजिकल भी कर सकते हैं, इन पर्सन या जूम पे भी कर सकते हैं. नंदिनी मैडम के साथ जूम पे ही करना है. आपको साइन अप का लिंक आएगा, वो लिंक में स्लॉट्स दिखेंगे आपको, आप अपना कंफर्टेबल स्लॉट बुक करो. लेट्स से सारे स्लॉट बुक हो गए और आपको नहीं मिल रहा है, टॉक टू श्रुति मैडम, वो आपको फिर अलग से एक स्लॉट क्रिएट करके दे देंगे. दिस इज स्ट्रक्चर्ड. इफ यू वांट मोर देन दिस, ऑफ कोर्स यू कैन रिक्वेस्ट एंड इट विल बी ऑनर्ड एंड हैंडल्ड. डोंट वरी. आपको इससे ज्यादा सेशन चाहिए, इस टाइम के अलावा कोई सेशन चाहिए, ऑफ कोर्स यू कैन गेट इट. Just talk to us and we'll arrange sessions. Okay, is that okay, Sarah? ठीक है. Any other question, guys? So path forward clear है. C3
Yes.
and C4 का everything continues. Writing and language complete करो C3 के साथ, C4 वाले, and then you get on with your EBR. Maths will continue like this only. Sundays को maths होगा. Coming Sunday को maths नहीं होगा. नंदिनी मैडम इंग्लिश लेंगी. ये ध्यान रखना, इंग्लिश की बुक लेके आना. ओके नंदिनी मैम, आई थिंक बस यही मेरे बेसिक अनाउंसमेंट्स थे. ठीक है मैम, थैंक यू. यू कंटिन्यू. थैंक यू गाइस.
So everybody is clear of when what is going to happen. So tomorrow, no maths. Tomorrow we'll do WL. Yeah, because we need to finish the portion before your exam. Okay, so just a little bit on who I have here. Your name I miss so far. Charu. Charu and Chico. Yeah. Silver is there. Chino is there. You are? Ishan. Ishan, which one? Arikal. We have two Ishans. And yours is Advaya. Advaya Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi. Okay, so everybody, any doubts on the previous sessions? Yeah, anybody else who has doubts, please get your doubts out before we move on. Yeah, so you had a doubt on question number 3, 4, and session 7, question 3. Okay. Question 3 says, if everyone has your books open to the practice questions. Now it's talking about plants. You have to look at the context also. So because it starts with furthermore, we have the context of plants which are in arid climates require less water. This is furthermore, a succulent encompasses a wide variety of unusual forms. Yeah. So, second practice. Okay, the next one. Okay, the Delhi sandwiches, that one. Okay. So your sentence here is, yeah. At that Delhi, the sandwiches were similar to the cafeteria, but they were slightly larger, a bit healthier, and definitely fresher. So what is it comparing? Cafeteria once, but what is the sentence saying? Read the sentence again. At that Delhi, so have you been able to spot the error? Okay, read the sentence and see if it is saying exactly what you have thought. Yeah, so it is comparing the sandwiches of Delhi to cafeteria, not cafeteria sandwiches. So you have to be comparing to the sandwiches of cafeteria, right? So according to that, what would be your correct answer? Delhi sandwiches are similar to cafeteria sandwiches. Is that grammatically correct? It's not a brand. It's talking about Delhi's sandwiches. Yeah. So cafeteria sandwiches. It belongs the sandwiches which are available at that place. Yeah. Any other doubts? Previous sessions are previous exercise. Okay. Question 6. Okay. Yeah, so the sentence says each of the best skaters have probably fallen down a lot while practicing too. So what's the error here? Anybody?
Each of the best.
Each will be?
Yeah, because if the addressing best skaters are addressing them in a group. There's no point individually addressing someone and seeing best.
It is each of.
Sorry, the answer should be B.
Answer should be B. The best skaters. Okay, read B. See if it is correct.
The best skater probably fallen down.
The best skaters has probably fallen down. Yeah. Has would be incorrect. Now, if we go back to the sentence, it says each of the best caterers. Yeah. So whenever you use each, remember the rule of using each. Remember we did it last time. When you use each, we use singular. Right? So each of the best caterers, we are talking about one particular, like not one particular, but each of them. So it becomes singular. So each of the best caterers has probably fallen down. So so in that case, C will be your answer. Each of the best caterers has probably fallen down a lot while practicing too.
What
So D says each of the best skater. That is also wrong because your sentence says each of the best skaters, each belonging to the group, right? So C will be your answer. Okay, anybody online? Do you have any doubt? No? Did you practice?
Ma'am, can you repeat the session number? From which session was that question? 7.
This question was from session 7. Yeah. Any doubts from session 8? Have you done the exercises, punctuations? Everyone? No one seems to have any doubt. Very good. Let's see. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
Ma'am, I had a doubt in
Yes.
the punctuation. Ma'am, how do I differ when to put 1 dash or a colon and 2 dashes and a parenthesis?
Okay, so when you have 1 dash, means there's something to follow or something to emphasize. And what is the rule when you have 1 dash? Don't remember? The part before will be independent clause, right? So the part before the dash should be an independent clause. And similarly, you can use a colon also. Colon can be followed by a list or explanation. But if you have to emphasize something, you would use a dash. That's the only difference between a colon and a dash. Yeah. And in the colon also, same rules applies. Part before the colon will be independent clause. And when you're using 2 dashes, it should be something in the middle of the sentence, which is an inessential clause. Yeah, can be removed. And we have to also check the other punctuations. We can have a comma after colon, after the dash, but not before. Right? Okay. So you did the exercises in session 9.
Ma'am, can you repeat?
In session 9, have you done the exercises? Practice exercises when related to homophones, yes. Okay. Which one? Session 7 and 8. Okay, you weren't there. Okay. So anyway, I'll cover it later on then. Yeah.
I saw the recording of session.
Okay. Maybe we'll arrange a session for you, and anyone who has missed out on anything,
Yes, ma'am.
we'll ask to arrange a session so that we can cover whatever you missed out. Okay.
Even I missed the session.
Session 7 and 8, or 8 and 9.
No, 6 and 7.
6 and
No, sorry, 7 and 8, right? 7 and 8.
7 and 8. Okay. So I think we'll do it again, maybe a little bit. So anyone who has done the exercises in session 8 and 9? Nobody? Haven't attempted as yet? 8 you got all correct, no doubts? Okay. That's good. In 9, no doubts? What about question 10 in question 4 in session 9? You did? 1 to 3 was from passage 1. 4, 5, 6 is from passage 2. So if you haven't done this section, this passage, so this exercise, please try to do it so you can come up with your doubts tomorrow. Session 9 exercises. Yeah. Okay, so we will move on today. Now you have to go through as many of homophones as you can. So there was just one little thing I think we have left out in this one. That is not much important. It was about the idiomatic expressions. So when you have idiomatic expressions, it's not the same as idioms. So what are idiomatic expressions? Anybody knows? No? So when you have something like, say, when you talk about, say, abide by the rule. So you have certain prepositions that come up with the words and they're always in pairs. They'll always be like that. So you don't say abide to the rule. It'll always be abide by the rule. You have a list of these idioms, idiomatic expressions, like approve of a change, right? Or agree on an amendment. Yeah. Agree with somebody. When you're talking to somebody, you agree with somebody. While you would say you agree to do something. Yeah. So with agree, there are different prepositions that are coming in, which are linked to a certain verb, right? Like concerned. You are concerned about something. You are not concerned with something. So these are, you will come across these type of expressions and you should know what is the correct usage. So you can go through the list in session 9. There's a short list over here of idioms. We would rather call them idiomatic expressions. And you will come across the usage. You have already been doing those, so it won't be a problem. So today we will move on to session 11. Now session 10, for now we are skipping. We'll be coming back to session 10. Or I'll tell you to do a few exercises from there after we finish off with session 11.
Ma'am,
Yes, anybody was saying something?
ma'am, the answer key of session 9, isn't it jumbled? The question
Okay, you
number.
don't have the revised as yet?
Ma'am,
Session 9 or session 10? I think session 9 there was some repetition, but it
yeah,
was,
the first and
yeah, some repetition in questions, but I think it was corrected unless you got the old.
yes, ma'am. For the fourth, the answer is given on in the seventh one.
Yeah, I think question 1 to 4. Question 7 seems to have been repeated. I think questions 7, 8, 9 have been repeated. They're the same as 1, 2, 3. No, they're the same as 4, 5, 6. So you can just omit that.
Ma'am, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6 are repeated.
No, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8 I think are repeated. My tab written is tab. We are just about to buy tickets. Okay, this passage on we are just about to buy tickets has is repeated. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6 you can do, and you can omit 7, 8, 9. Right?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so now coming to session 11. We did a lot of grammar till now. Yeah. Now we come to the next part of the questions, which are what we call expression of ideas. Now you don't have to, the SAT will not ask you what type of questions they are. You have to know that these are the type of questions. Yeah. So when we talk about expression of ideas, we come across 3 types of questions mainly. So there will be the development questions, organization questions, and the syntax of the language use. Yeah. So now these are the basic, like the broad categories that you will come across. We will go into the details of each one of them. So when we talk about development questions, they are about refining the content of, like when you are editing, you are improving on the content. What do you do when you're improving on the content? You would either change the introduction, change the conclusion, add something missing in the middle, right? So those are the type of questions that you will come across right now. Next will be the organization questions, where maybe the sentences given to you are a little jumbled up and you have to put them in the proper order. Or maybe the paragraphs are jumbled up, you have to put them in the proper order. So the paragraph questions and the paragraph jumble questions and the sentence jumble questions are the only 2 types of questions where you have to actually know the entire paragraph or the entire passage. And these you will do last. Never attempt the sentence placement questions or maybe a conclusion to the passage. Those type of questions you will do at the end. Yeah. After attempting all the grammar questions. Okay, because these require a little more time and a little more idea of the entire paragraph or passage. So by the time you do all the other questions, you know what the entire passage is, even if you haven't read the whole thing. So coming to the question types. Now, the development question when we talk about, they usually revise, when we say revising the content, what do you need? You need to clarify some points, maybe. Yeah. So what is the purpose? You have to know what is the purpose of these questions. Either to bring clarity or to add some details which support a given statement. Yeah. Or maybe you are required to sharpen the focus. That means that also is related to bringing clarity. So a particular point is stated and maybe something added to it or deleted from it will bring about progress. So these questions are usually about, or it may also, you can also get some data, say a map or a graph or a table, pie chart maybe, and information from that can be compared to the information given in the passage, or just the information from the graph can be asked to be included. Yeah, or it may also be that which of the statements supports the, or which data supports the statements in the passage, something of that sort. Okay. So when we are talking about these, now in the development question, there are different types of questions that come up. One would be the proposition question. So the question given to you would ask you something like this, which maybe a given sentence is given to you, which choice best introduces the main topic of the paragraph? So it's related to the entire paragraph. So in the reading section you have done, the EBR section, you have done the main idea of either the paragraph or the entire passage. So the same strategy comes in here. You read through, you have to see what is the paragraph talking about. Is the sentence that they are talking about, that they have given you, related to that topic, or is it diverting from the topic? Yeah. So you may it may be add, revise, or remove, or retain a statement. So it could be like the author wants to add this particular statement to the paragraph. Yeah. They may also give you so some part is underlined, number is given to you, and maybe at that point, the middle of the paragraph, they want to add it. So you have to read the paragraph, read the sentence, and see whether it is apt or not. Whether it should be added, should not be added. So this is the strategy we are talking about. What do you do? Read the paragraph. Figure out what is the main point of the paragraph, or the main idea of the paragraph. Then see which, now say you are given 4 options. Out of the 4 options, which one goes in? Or maybe just one option is given and you ask, should you keep it? Should you add it? Should you delete it? Yes. Yeah, they're all multiple choice.
No, can there be 2 answers?
No, there cannot be 2 answers. There'll always be only 1 answer. Any question throughout will have only 1 correct answer. You'll never have 2 correct answers. Yeah. And if you are confused, which one should both of them look correct? What do? Analyze further. Yeah, you've eliminated 2. Out of the remaining 2, you are confused. Analyze a little more, you'll surely get your answer. It's not so difficult. Yeah. Okay. So now let's look at an example here. Now this is the question number 22. Now when we deal with these type of questions, we have to look at the context. So read the sentence before, read the sentence after, or read the entire paragraph if it is not too long. Yeah. So if we read this particular paragraph, for as long as hardware houses served rail travelers, through the mid-20th century, working there was a steady and lucrative position for women. Living independently and demonstrating an intense work ethic, the Harvey girls became known as a transformative force in the American West. Advancing the roles of women in the restaurant industry and the American workforce as a whole, the Harvey girls raised the standard of restaurants and blazed a trail in the fast changing landscape of the Western territory. So what is this paragraph talking about? What is the main idea of this paragraph? If you would summarize into, say, a phrase or a single sentence. Yeah, and how they have brought about a transformation. Yeah, that's what it's talking about. So now you just mark this 22. This is what is underlined for you, only west is underlined. So maybe it's talking about something to be added here. Okay, the writer is considering revising the underlined portion of the sentence to read West, comma, inspiring books, documentaries, and even a musical. Yeah. So this is the part which the author wants to include. Now your question reads something like that. Yes, you have 4 options. Now you will all, in these type of questions, you will be given 4 options. 2 will be yes, 2 will be no. Yeah. And each one of them is accompanied by a reason. So if you choose yes, you should get the reasoning right. If you choose no, you should get the reasoning right. So in this case, if you see, it says inspiring books, documentaries, and even a musical. Now, if you add that to the sentence, say the Harvey girls became known as transformative force in the American West, inspiring books, documentaries, and even a musical. Then it goes on to say advancing the roles of women in the restaurant industry and the American workforce, etc. So, does it make sense adding this information? Yes, you said no. Okay, what about the others? Yes? Okay, so here, what do you think?
Ma'am, it should be added, but not between the 21 and 22. I think it should be added before
It's like West inspiring books. West, comma, inspiring at the end of the sentence. Right? So now if you think it should be added, you have to think of why it should be added. Examples, right? So if you look at the options, now if you say yes, you are eliminating the 2 no's. If you say no, you are eliminating the 2 yeses. Yeah. So why do you think it should not be added? It's not relevant. So do you have an option which says it is not relevant? No. You have, it should be placed earlier in the passage. It contradicts the main claim of the passage. Does it contradict? No. Should it be placed earlier? It doesn't make sense placing it earlier. Can be a little louder.
If it is placed earlier, it will make more sense because then we get to know why the Harvey houses are.
Earlier, where would you place it? It says living independently and demonstrating an intense work ethic, Harvard girls became known as a transformative force in the American West. So you want to place it before this? This is what is this part giving you? Inspiring books, documentaries, and even a musical. So these are what examples of things which they have influenced. Right? So you would talk about a person's, you would talk about examples after you have said how they are influenced. Right? So it would come in where it is. Now the question is, do you need it? Do you not need it? Right? Now, anything which you are explaining, always you would add examples to it. Yeah, to make it more credible. Yeah, to explain it further. So yes, you would explain it, add it. Yeah. So now among the 2 options of yes, which one would you select? Yes, because it provides examples, or because it serves as a transitional point. It provides examples, right? So A is your answer. So what did you do? You first read the paragraph, what it was talking about, you figured out. Then you got to the question, you got to the part of the sentence that should be added or not added. Yeah. Then you saw what is that portion talking about? Is it relevant to the sentence or the paragraph? And then you found an answer to why it should be added or not added, right? So that is your strategy that you will be following. First, see what the passage is talking about, read the context. See what, now here you've got only a part of a sentence, you may get an entire sentence. Same strategy applies, okay? So this was this was the first type of question which talks about proposition, that is, should it be added or not?
Ma'am,
Yes,
can you repeat the correct option?
the correct option is A. Yes, because it provides examples of how it was influenced, right? Okay, now coming to the next type of question. This is called the support question. That is again the same type. Now here it will be on the basis of some information given to you. Yeah, additional information or based on some graphs or something that also can come in over here. So the main purpose over here is, now the question will be something like add, revise or leave unchanged evidence that supports a given point of view. Yeah. So here also what do you do? So the question can be something like which choice most effectively sets up the information that follows. So sets up the information that follows means it should be an addition to it. Yeah. And it should be relevant to what is coming up later. So again, the strategy that you would be following would be reading the information, reading the context, what is before, what is later. So the context is always very important. If you haven't got the context right, you may get your answer. Okay. Then you review the topic sentence of the paragraph. That is the main idea of the paragraph. What is the entire paragraph talking about? Is the given sentence relevant to the paragraph? Is it actually supporting a given information or not? Or given idea or not? And then you will go on to something that, now if it says sets up the idea that follows, that means it should be introducing the idea that follows or supporting the idea that follows. Yeah. So, and of course you will be going by the process of elimination. Now let's look at an example. So this is at number 6. It says which choice best supports a statement made in the previous sentence. Not here is not what follows, but made in the previous sentence. So you will be looking at the previous sentence. It says, we have how the sentence interjecting. No, yeah. Employees who feel less than 100% and are sleep deprived are also less prone to work at their maximal productivity. Then it says one company in California gained a huge boost in its employees' morale. Now you see there's an underlined portion, and either this portion can be replaced by what is given in the question. Yeah, some option given in the question. So one company in California gained a huge boost in its employees' morale when it moved from an artificially lit distribution facility to one with natural illumination. Now your question is saying, which choice best supports the statement made in the previous sentence? Now what is the previous sentence talking about? Productivity. It's talking about productivity. Yeah. There's some problem, and because of which their employees are feeling 100%, not feeling 100%. They are sleep deprived and less prone to work at the maximum productivity. Yeah. So your key word here would be productivity. Yeah. Now do we go with no change? One company in California gained a huge boost in its employees' morale when it moved from an artificially lit distribution facility to one with natural illumination. It's talking about huge boost in its employees' morale. Now, does that support the previous sentence? No. Now,
No.
if we look at the other options, so 5% increase in productivity when it moved from artificially led to natural, or saved a great deal on its operational cost, invested large amounts of time and capital. What can you eliminate? C and D you can eliminate, and you've eliminated A. You're left with B. And does B fit in? Yes, it does. Right? So what did you do? First, look at the context, analyze the context, see what the next sentence is talking about, and then go with the option which supports the previous sentence. So you are looking at the keywords in the sentences. So what was the keyword in the previous sentence which we had to support? Productivity. Right? Yes?
The previous sentence says that it does less from the work at the maximum productivity. So in B, the companies are 5% increase productivity.
Yeah, it's a 5% increase in productivity.
So then if the
100
employees are not working at the maximum productivity,
the works are less prone at the maximum productivity. They are not working at maximum productivity. Right? So if you read the sentence, it says employees who feel less than 100% and are sleep deprived are also less prone to work at their maximum productivity. So when we have these problems, they are not fully productive. Yeah. And the second sentence is talking about move from an artificially led distribution facility to one with natural elimination. So what effect did that have? It increased their productivity, right? So that's why we go with B. Okay.
Ma'am, why are we eliminating A?
It says you gained a huge boost in its employees' morale. So is the previous sentence now what is your question? We get back to the question. Which choice best supports the statement made in the previous sentence? So we have to see what is in the previous sentence. Are we talking about employees' morale?
We are talking about their productivity.
We are talking about the productivity. So just improving on the lighting facilities has gained, the company has gained a huge boost in its employees' morale. Does that work? Or would we go with?
If the sentence starts with employees who feel less than 100%, means the we can say that the sentence also talks about employees not having a high morale because they are not feeling 100%.
Now it is 100%. Employees who feel less than 100%. Now feeling less than 100% can be what? It can be that they are not prone to working. They don't feel like working. They feel lazy because they are sleep deprived. Yeah, it says they feel less than 100% and are sleep deprived. If you look at the context, it's not really like this helped in increasing their morale. Does that fit into providing support to the previous sentence?
Yes, ma'am, because if they gained morale, then there's also a chance that they increase productivity. Because is it okay if we just add some number like 5% because it's because that's means we are stating it ourselves. It's not from the text stating a number.
So a 5% increase in productivity when it moved from an artificial led distribution facility to one with natural elimination. Now, what is this next sentence doing? What is the second sentence doing? It is giving you proof that there was a change. Change in what? Change in what? The previous sentence, what is the problem in the previous sentence?
People are not being productive.
The statement is that they are not working to their maximum productivity.
Okay.
So if you identify that problem, in that context, would just boosting the morale be your solution, or would it be increasing productivity?
Increasing productivity.
What is the better answer?
increasing productivity.
Improve. So if you look at the question also, it says, which best supports the statement, right? So we have to see which one fits in better. Okay. Okay, now coming to the, yeah, so you got it?
Yes.
Now coming to the next type of question. Here also, we have the same thing. You add, delete, or leave unchanged. But what, here we have a sentence which would be, like the writer is considering adding a following sentence, so the writer makes this addition here. Right? Something like that will come up. Or considering deleting the following sentence, again you get the yes, no. Yeah, an entire sentence, should it come in, should it not come? So here you mostly you'll see, is it in the context or not? Whether it is improving something or is it blurring something? Yeah. So is it taking away the focus or is it bringing clarity? So again, you have to analyze the sentence given to you, analyze the given context, yeah, and then you go on to figuring out whether it fits in or not. So you review sentences on either side, provide reasoning. So if it fits in, you keep it. If it doesn't fit in, you will remove it. Let's look at an example. Now again, here one thing you have to see here, what do you eliminate? Something that is not in the scope of the passage. Yeah, it is not in the context of the passage, you will delete immediately. Now, when you are left with two options, you analyze further which one fits in better. You may think, okay, this also fits in, that also fits in. Now what to do? Which fits in better? A little bit, that's what the purpose of this is, to see whether you can analyze or not. Yeah. So your analytical skills are required. Now let's look at this one. We'll get to the question first. So if you read the question, it's easier to figure out what you are looking for. It says at this point, the writer is considering adding the following sentence. Some scholars argue that the excesses of King Louis XV's reign contributed significantly to the conditions that resulted in the French Revolution. So this is a total historical fact, right? Now we go back to the passage in question. It says, viewing the exhibit, I was amazed by the intricate details of some of the more ornately decorated rooms. I marveled at a replica of a salon, a formal living room dating back to the reign of French King Louis XV. Built into the dark paneled walls are bookshelves stocked with leather-bound volumes, the couch and chairs, in keeping with the style of the time, are characterized by elegantly carved arms and legs. They are covered with luxurious velvet, a dime-sized portrait, etc. Right? So what is the given passage describing? And if you look at the previous, if you want more context, you can go back to the previous paragraph. The first time I visited the Art Institute of Chicago, right? So it is talking about miniature art. And okay, on one hand, I could wait to view painter Georges Stewart's 10-foot wide Sunday afternoon on the island, etc. And then it took me by surprise when my favorite exhibit at the museum was one of its Tamias, the Throne miniature rooms. Yeah, so that is the context of the paragraph that is coming up, the Throne miniature rooms. And so what do we find here? We find a description of the miniature artifact, right? Now they're asking you to add the given sentence at 15. The previous sentences said, I marveled at a replica of a salon, a former living room dating back to the reign of French King Louis 15 built into the dark panel walls are bookshelves, etc. So entire description. So does the sentence fit in? Some scholars argue that excesses of King Louis XV's reign contributed significantly to the conditions that resulted in the French Revolution. Is that relevant to the given context? No, right? So it is taking, what is it doing? It is taking away the focus of the. So we will, first, we don't want the sentence here. So what do we eliminate? The two yeses. Yes. Now coming to the no's, we want to see whether what we thought of is the answer or not, the reason. So C says no because it interrupts a paragraph description of miniature salon, and D says no because it implies that the interior designer of the salon had political motivations. So we don't have any proof of political motivations, but yes, C is the correct answer, right? So this is how you will be dealing with this. Read the context, read the sentence given to you, fits in or not, why does it fit in or why does it not fit in?
Well,
Yeah. Yes.
well, why can't it be A? Because the passage explains the luxuries which the king spread, right? And in the French Revolution, this was the reason for his fall, right? So
Okay,
why
so
can't
it
it?
says, because it provides a historical context for the throne miniature rooms exhibit. Now, what is the sentence saying? Sentence says, excesses of King Louis V's reign contributed to the conditions that resulted in the French Revolution. Does it have any connection with the miniature artifact or the room? Can you connect the dots? Or does it stand out as an odd sentence? If you read it so you place it at 15 and read the paragraph again. So if you place it at 15, so it will be viewing the exhibit, I was amazed, etc. I marveled at the replica of a salon dating back to the reign of the French king Louis. And then you would say some scholars argue that excesses of King Louis' reign contributed to the conditions that resulted in the French Revolution. And then you go on to built into the dark panel walls are bookshelves, etc. So does it fit in? Think about it. Or does it
No.
take away from the focus of the description?
Yes, ma'am, it takes away from.
If it would have said something like that King Louis reigns contributed significantly to the development of such type of artifacts, then it would have fitted in. But it has nothing to do with the artifact, right? So we will not put it in here. And why we will not put it in here? Because it interrupts the paragraph description of the miniature salon, right? Okay, so this was one type of question. So when you are doing this type of question, what do you do? First, analyze what the sentence is doing. That's the sentence that you have to add. Then you refer back to the passage and see and read it with that given sentence and see whether it fits in or not. Yeah, whether it makes sense or not. And if it is out of context, you will be deleting. Now we come to, till now we did adding sentences. Yeah. Now we come to the deleting sentence questions. So deleting sentence question also you do it in a similar way. You look at the context, read the sentence in question, see if it is relevant to the given context, whether it should be kept or should be deleted, then go into the reasoning, why it should be kept or why it should be deleted, right? Okay, now here your question is, there are two paragraphs here. Now this is question number 28. Writer is considering deleting the underlined sentence. Should the sentence be kept or deleted? So we have to read the context. This is your paragraph. The sentence is the cost of launching a new co-working business in the United States is estimated to be approximately 58,000. Now this we have to read in context of the entire paragraph. So you read the entire paragraph. The article published by Forbes magazine explained that co-working spaces are designated locations that for a fee individuals can use to conduct their work. The spaces are usually stocked with standard office equipment, such as photocopies, printers, fax machines. In these locations, however, the spaces often include small meeting areas and larger rooms for hosting presentations. And the next sentence is the cost of launching a new co-working business in the United States is estimated to be approximately $58,000. So now you have to analyze whether to keep this sentence or to delete it. Figure it out.
Delete.
Delete it. Okay. Why delete?
Well, because
Right.
it's losing the focus.
Why is it losing the focus? Because it is about cost. So you can talk about cost, but what is this sentence actually talking about? What is
Talking about the total expenses. Giving the details about what is there.
the main, now what is the keyword in the first sentence? It's talking about co-working spaces. Yeah, co-working spaces where you can set up your own office and all the facilities are given. That is what the entire paragraph is describing. Now, what is this sentence talking about? Co-working businesses. It's talking about, it's not talking about spaces, it's talking about businesses. So there's a difference between spaces and businesses, right? So that's why if it was talking about co-working spaces, it approximately cost so much, it would have made sense. But it's talking about something completely different, right? So instead of co-working spaces, which is the context of the entire paragraph, this comes up with a different thing altogether. So should we keep or delete? Delete. So now we have to look at the reasons for deleting. Let's see. So we have thought of deleting. So it blurs the paragraph's main focus or it repeats information. It blurs the. So if you see, it's easy to figure out whether to keep it or delete it. And also the questions will be such that you will be able to figure out the correct answer. So obviously repeats information is not an answer. Yeah. And your only option remaining is C. So what did you do? We just recap of what we did. We determined the purpose of the deleted sentence. We went back to the passage and figured out what the rest of the paragraph was talking about. Yeah. And then tried to figure whether this is relevant or not. Okay, now when you're talking about quantitative information, we will do some of these when we come to the actual passages. Now, related to the quantitative information, questions could be something about presenting the data. Yeah, they may ask you something like if the data supports information in the passage or not, or whether what is mentioned in the passage supports the given data, right? Or it could be purely on the basis of the data, like can we infer this particular thing from the given information? Yeah. So depending upon what the question is asking you, you have to be able to pick the correct ones. yeah, this requires a little bit of analysis. So now when you're given a graph, first you have to figure out what the graph is talking about. Yeah, sometimes we miss out on the measurements. Maybe the same thing is not reflected in the passage. The graph is talking about the same topic, but in a different way. So what it is exactly telling you, you have to be able to go into the details. And then you would be comparing what is given in the passage and what is given in the data or graph, table, whatever is given to you. And something which is not supported by either the given information or the passage will never be realized. Yeah. So whatever is given to you should be supported by the text and the given information. So this thing you have to keep in mind. You may think that, okay, this is a very fancy statement given. It seems to be supported, but is the given data same as what the statement is saying? That you have to figure out. Okay. Okay. Now we come to the second type of question, that's an organization question. Right? So what do we mean by organization? Organizing sentences properly. So when you're organizing sentences, what are we looking at? It makes sense. There is a flow. Yeah. So even when you're writing, it should, say you're writing an essay or you're reading somebody's essay, and it begins with a topic sentence. Then the paragraph goes on to describing something which is not related to the topic sentence. Then it goes back to the topic sentence again. Would that make sense? No. So we should have either chronological order or a logical order. There are two things. One is chronological order when you're talking about events. It's easier to get a chronological order. And when you're talking about some theory or maybe some analysis, a logical order can be drawn. Yeah, so that's what we have to look at. So here's where we were talking about. Now, maybe in a sentence, in a paragraph, there are 5 to 6 sentences, usually 5 sentences they'll give you, and they'll pick up one sentence. The sentences will be numbered in boxes. So usually when you have the ordering question, the sentences will come in like this. Yeah, this is the numbering of the sentences, and your question number will come in normally like it does. Say question number 12, 6 or 7. So you know this particular sentence refers to the question. The sentence may not be underlined for you, but when you see the numbering of the question, you will know this is a particular sentence. Now the question may be something like this. Where should question sentence number 3 be placed? Where it is before sentence 1, after sentence 2, after sentence 4, something of that sort. Yeah. So in that case, what you have to do is, so what you need to do is you have to evaluate this given sentences. So you have to read the entire paragraph. What is the paragraph talking about? Yeah, again, you get back to the main idea of the paragraph, the content. So is each sentence following the previous sentence in content? Yeah. So is there a logical order or not? If the sentence, now the given sentence you would be placing in different positions. So it says, should it be placed before sentence 1? Place it before sentence 1 and see. Does it make sense? Place it after sentence 2, if the question asks me to do that, and see if it makes sense. So just place the sentences where required and see whether it makes a meaningful paragraph or not. Yeah. So the ordering of sentences and looking at the logical sequence is important. And something that helps you in that is the introductions, conclusions, and the transitions. Now, given usually when you talk about a paragraph, what is the purpose of the introductory sentence?
What is it?
Purpose of an introductory sentence.
So, you know, basically,
What the paragraph is going to be. So it's the topic sentence. Now, any sentence which does not serve that purpose will never be your introductory sentence, right? Now, what is the purpose of a concluding sentence?
Ma'am, it gives the overview of the passage.
Overview of the particular. Now, when you're talking about a particular paragraph, there are two purposes of the concluding sentence. One, it could summarize the entire paragraph and give a concluding view on it, or it could set up the idea in the next paragraph, right? Two things it can do. So when you are looking at these type of questions and say, if it says, should be placed after sentence 5, and that sentence 5 seems to be the last sentence. So you have to see, is it doing something that is setting up an idea of the next paragraph also? So these two things you have to keep in mind, right? Or you can also get questions like this. Certain sentences are given to you, and you are asked something like this: which choice best concludes the passage? So out of the 4 given options, what concludes the passage or provides a transition between the 2 topics, maybe, or introduces the topic of paragraph 2. So any concluding sentence can do this. Yeah. Now, another thing that you can keep in mind is you have to look for. Now, coming to the studies, how you would do this. Now, the title of the passage can be looked at. Now, these questions, another thing. Say, what sentence concludes the passage or provides a transition of topic of any paragraph? There you will be looking at the entire passage, right? So that you have to have an idea of the entire. That's why I said always do these questions at the end. So now you will be looking at the main point of the passage. What is the entire passage about, to figure out what the conclusion should be, right? Anything that does not is not in the scope or of the entire passage will not be your concluding sentence. We're just talking about something completely different, right? And when you're talking about the paragraphs, the first and the last sentence of the paragraphs are important to figure out what will come in between. Yeah, when you're talking about the adding a sentence in between or ordering the given sentences. And of course, transitions are important. So what will you do when you're talking about a given paragraph and or maybe even the concluding sentence of a paragraph? First, say it in your own words. What is the sentence? What is the purpose of the paragraph? Or what is the purpose of the entire passage? So that becomes easier to figure out which of the given options matches what you are thinking. Right? More or less, when you are going through a passage, the main point of the passage you should be able to get. If you're not getting it, then you will get a wrong answer and the confusion, right? Now, another type of question is where we are talking about the usage of the language. So when you are editing, you will also be looking at the correct usage of words or phrases. Yeah, maybe a certain word is written, and you think, no, this is not really fitting into this place. Maybe we need another word which expresses the idea better. Yeah, so that is the purpose of these type of questions. When you get these type of questions, you have to look at a few things. And okay, most important stat which questions will come up would be something which brings about Number one, precision and concision. So maybe you have two questions, two answers, both fitting. They mean the same. What will you do? Go with the one which is concise. Always remember, go with an option which is concise. Whether it is adding sentences together, combining sentences, or picking up the correct option. Say you want to replace a certain phrase or word, always go with something that is concise. You may have two grammatically correct answers. One is longer, one is short. Shorter one is your answer. Okay? If you choose a longer one, the city will mark it wrong. Right? So this you have to keep in mind. And another thing, always choose the active voice over the passive voice. So number one, concise. Number two, active voice, not the passive voice. Yeah. If you keep these two things in mind, most of the time you will be getting to the right answer. Okay. Now another thing you have to keep in mind is the style and the tone. Now you're given, say a word is given in the passage and it is underlined for you, options are given to you. Now the passage is a scientific passage. It's talking about some theories, some hypotheses. And in the middle there's, now if you have a scientific passage, what type of tone do you expect? More or less formal? Yeah, you won't use an informal language in it. Unless the author has an informal language throughout. So if it has an informal tone throughout, then an informal language may come. But if it is a formal tone throughout, anything that comes in as an informal language in your question will not be allowed. Right? So the tone and the style of writing is important. And yeah. Now the syntax is important when you're talking about combining sentences. So two sentences are given to you and your question is to select the correct option which combines it the best possible way. Now you can combine them maybe just grammatically, adding a semicolon or a comma and a conjunction. But that can lead to repetition. So what will you do? Look for another option which reduces the repetition, right? And in the combining sentences questions, SAT will usually give you sentences which have misplaced punctuations. You have to be very careful about those punctuations. Yeah, so these are the things you have to keep in mind when you are dealing with questions which are combining sentences. So usually you will be going with something which is improving on the given text. Yeah, something which is improving, something which is making it concise, bring in clarity will be your answer. Okay. Now when you're talking about precision, another thing that comes in which we can, for the context is important. When you're rephrasing, something, you have to make sure that it brings in clarity. So the usage of words should be such that A, it is grammatically correct, and B, the meaning of the sentence is not all. So the idea should be reflected in your sentence, no matter what. Yeah. And now you have done parallel structure, right? Combining sentences, you have to see if the structure of the sentence is correct. So if you just figure out whether the parallel structure exists, most of the time, that is what will help you to get to the correct answer. Okay? So a lot of things to keep in mind. And yes, concision we were talking about, that is always remove extra words. Anything extra should be removed. So you have to come to the option which has the least number of words, but is grammatically correct and expressing the idea that is required. Okay. So these are the questions which are a little difficult, require a little analysis. So, okay, talking about readiness, you can read the two sentences given here. First one says you will be asked to edit to make sure that passages are phrased in as clear, lean, and brief a manner as possible, so as to express the text meaning and fulfill its intended purpose. Right? Use long sentence. What does it actually mean? Make it concise. You will be asked to edit passages for concision. Right? So this entire long sentence actually means just this. That is where even when you're writing, you have to be able to make sentences as concise as possible. Express ideas in the least number of words. Yeah, so this is what will help you. Okay, now we already talked about. Okay, when you're talking about redundancy, sometimes you will find that there are words and phrases coming up which mean the same. See, we look at this one. Because the speaker was not using a microphone, his voice was inaudible and could not be heard. Anything wrong with this? Inaudible means could not be heard. So it's just repeating the same thing. So we can just remove and could not be heard and keep inaudible more than enough. Right? We don't need repetition. Okay, so we already spoke about the style and tone. Now, when we're talking about the tone of a passage, yeah, so this is another thing that you have to keep in mind. Whether it is negative, critical, neutral, or rhetorical. Yeah. So depending upon what is the tone of the passage, the words will be selected accordingly. Say it is something which is very critical, and in the middle there's a phrase or sentence which talks about something positive. So it becomes a contrast. Does it fit in or not? We have to see. If it doesn't fit in, we have to look for the alternative, which gives you something which goes with the tone of the passage. Right? So then, so basically, like you have to analyze and eliminate, right? Okay, now coming to the syntax, the combining sentences. We do it with an example. Say we have this particular example. Sarah, Savart, everyone can please put on your videos, otherwise you will not be visible to me. Yes, please everyone keep your videos on. Otherwise I don't know whether you are. If your videos are not on, you will be automatically removed from here. Okay. So if we look at this particular sentence, since its popularization in the 19th century, photography has played various and complex roles. Crude film cameras first appeared in antiquity. Now these are two sentences you have to combine together, right? So when you are combining them together, what do you have to look at? What are the two sentences talking about? Do they have a connection? What type of connection? Yeah, what is the relationship between the two sentences? Right? Is there a logical order or chronological order coming in? So now if you look at them, is it talking about any timeline? Now, if you look at the second part, crude pinhole cameras first appeared in antiquity. Yeah. So the word antiquity gives you that this existed since a long time. Now the first sentence says, since its popularization in the 19th century, photography has played various and complex roles. Yeah. So it existed and then it became popular. So if we combine, what can we do? Do we just remove the full stop and add a punctuation? Won't make sense. So to make sense, we have to combine it in such a way that the two ideas combine together, not just grammatically, but as a complete idea. So if you look at the example over here, while crude pinhole cameras first appeared in antiquity, photography was only popularized in the 19th century, after which it has played various and complex roles. Make sense? Yeah. So now if you go back to the given two sentences, your first idea is that pinhole cameras did exist. And the second idea is that it became popular only later. Right? So we bring in a comparison to combine them. So that's why this is beginning with while. So while crude pinhole cameras first appeared in antiquity, photography was only popularized in the 19th century. So that gives you the comparative angle to it, combines the two ideas, and makes a complete sentence. Right? So when you are given combining sentences, go through all the options and see what is combining it the best possible. There's no answer like, yes, this is wrong, this is correct. We have to look at the best possible. Yeah. Now we have an example over here. You can try this. Options are given to you. You have to combine sentences 2 and 3.
D.
B.
No, D.
B. Okay.
Ma'am, I said D.
Okay, you said D. D for dog. Okay. Anybody else?
Ma'am, D as well.
A. Okay.
D.
Mom, D.
D's. Okay. So we have D's and A's. So the given syllabus, you would go with D or A? D. Why? So give me a reason. Why will you go with D? It's talking about advantage stuff and yeah. So now the given sentences are, on the one hand, they represented American strength, adventurousness, and indefatigability. They also call up images of oppression, racism, and exploitation. Right? So why would you eliminate A? It gives you a contrast. Do we have a contrast in the two sentences? The ideas are not contrast. Second, it says they represent this and they call up images of oppression, racism, and exploitation. Now that does combine it, but does it bring out the meaning? It doesn't, right? So eliminate. So if you look at C, it begins with on the one hand, and then it goes on to they call up images of oppression. Now, when you begin something with on the one hand, you should have on the other hand in the second part. So in that way, D is the best option. Yeah. Now let's see how this. So this is just the next part is more or less just a summary of what we did so far. Yeah, you can go through this. So just to summarize how to go about. So you have to read the question, eliminate the wrong answers, connect logically, connect in chronological order. Yeah, sequencing. Now, when you have sentences which are like logical sentences are not. Okay, another thing over here which I think mention. Now, when you're looking at the sentence placement, yeah. Now, if something you have chronological clues like first this happened, then that happened, or next, any sentence beginning with next, or in the middle it's talking about what happens next is. Then you have to see which point, which sentence will come in to follow that. So these transition words will help you to figure out what comes one after the other. Now, if you have a sentence beginning with the, so it, any of these, you know that the sentence previous to that should have introduced what it is talking about, right? So those little things you have to keep in mind. If you have however, because, that means it is establishing a relationship between two sentences. So those two sentences should be in place. And nothing else can come in between those. So this you can go through. First and last paragraphs we already talked about. Addition, deleting sentences. So this is the summary of the entire session, which is for you to go through whenever you have doubts. So what we'll do now is, are you people tired? Too much for you to absorb. Huh? I can't really see. Okay, if you want 2 minutes break before we start our. I didn't give a break in the middle, but we will use something like that. Yes, please. Did it become a little too heavy today? Too much of analysis. Yeah, but that is required. You want to begin? Okay, so we will be doing some exercises to figure out whether we have understood what we did. Yeah, whether we have understood. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, both slots will be available. You can, and if you like Sir said, if slots are full, then you can ask Shruti and she'll do it. You can see in your timetable, the timings will be given. So 3 hours we will be there. So whoever comes in. Okay, so everybody please comment. Yeah, yeah, please. So now we will do this exercise. Open up to exercise 12. Huh? Is everybody online? Can you hear me clearly? Yeah? Okay. So I would want to sit down for some minutes. Okay, exercise 12. Now there are just about 7 questions here to begin with. So I think you could do question number 1 relates to this underlined sentence. So just do that. Now, any question when you find which is a headless question, what does it mean? It's a grammatical mistake. Yeah, some grammatical error. So you have to look at this and read the sentence carefully and see what is wrong. Are you able to spot the error? What is it?
There is no connectivity between after the manufacturers and promised.
So this is what we call a prolonged ambiguity. Who is not clear? There's no clarity, right? So what is the correct answer then?
B.
B. B brings in who. Now C has when and D has that. Both of these words will not fit. We want to know who is doing this. So American government began allowing the outsourcing of jobs to foreign manufacturers who promised cheap labor. To be correct. Okay, question number 2. This says which sentence is if added at this point best reflects the information presented in the graph. Now we have a graph coming. So this example we haven't done, which I will do when the question comes up. Now there's a graph at the end of the passage. You just turn the page. Do you have it? So now in order to figure out what the graph, what sentence should come in, if you see this is a concluding sentence of the paragraph. So more or less we have to read the paragraph. Yeah. Now we are not, we are just doing the strategies. We are not timing ourselves. So we will not leave this at the end, we will go in now. So if you read the entire paragraph, the reason for the decline was clear. The American government began allowing the outsourcing of jobs to foreign manufacturers who promised cheap labor, etc. The most notable example of this shift was the 1994 signing of NAFTA. So there's a date here, take note of it, or the Northern American Trade, which allowed inexpensive textile imports from Mexico. It also gave American textile companies an incentive to move production south, where lower costs meant higher profits. The entry of China into the world markets as a major competitor with less expensive exports also contributed to a decline in the number of American textile manufacturing jobs. So if you're looking at the context, what are you looking at? The reason for decline in the American textile manufacturing jobs, right? So now we have to add something over here, which will be coming from the graph. Yeah, now if you study the graph, here's the graph, right? Now, what is the graph talking about? It says Economic Research Department of Labor Statistics. Textile and apparel jobs from 1940 to 2000, and here you have the year. So now if you see in 1940 the number of jobs was high, then it went up a little, came down a little in 60, then in 70 it was a little higher, 80 it was a little higher, and then there was a sharp decline after 80. Or maybe started declining a little before 1980. Yeah, so that is what we get from the graph. Now coming back to the question. What do the questions say? You read the options given to you, and the options given to you should not be something that is completely different from what the rest of the paragraph is talking about. So it says the number of textile and apparel jobs began to decline steadily in the 70s. We don't get that. That is wrong. Eliminated. Textile and apparel jobs reached their peak in the 1950s after a steady increase. Now, is that relevant to our paragraph? Nothing to do with 1950s, right? So eliminate. The number of textile manufacturing jobs remained relatively stable during the 50s and 60s. Yeah, That's not true. It actually started declining. There was a sharp decline in textile and apparel jobs following the signing of NAFTA. Now, if you look at this particular option, when was the NAFTA signed? 1994. And if you look at the graph, there is a sharp decline after 1994, in fact, after 1980 or 1990. Yeah. So this would be supported by the content of the paragraph and the graph. So this is the only option that we can add in the paragraph, right? Okay, now if you look at question number 3. Question number 3 is again sentence underlined for you. It will be a grammatical error. So either there would be an error or there would be no error. So how do you figure out whether there is whether you have to go with no change or not? Yeah, so you can eliminate the other options. Easiest thing to do. So if you look at this, B, but signs suggest when the amount of textile? No. But signs suggest which amount of textile work? Again, grammatically incorrect. But signs suggest amount of textile work? Makes no sense. Yeah. So we are confirmed that the sentence given is correct. So just to confirm, even if you think it is correct, just to confirm, eliminate all the other options. Right? Okay, now coming to question number 4.
So the answer is A.
Answer is A. No change. Right? Okay, now coming to question number 4. To make this paragraph most logical, sentence 4 should be placed where? So we first get to sentence 4, it is underlined for you. So you see the sentence numbers in square brackets. Yeah. So it says the textile industry produces the materials needed to make clothing, such as yarn and cotton. We read that first, then we read the rest of the paragraph. It begins with, but science suggests that the amount of textile work in the United States is on the rise again. Now, this would be in context of connecting sentence to the previous paragraph, where it talked about declining number of textile manufacturing jobs, right? So, and now your options given are where it is now, after sentence 1, after sentence 2, before sentence 1. So can this sentence come before sentence 1? No. So we eliminate D. Now if we look at number 2, in 2014, the industry employed 232,000 people, making up roughly 2% of the American workforce. So, and then after that it says, so can we place this sentence after sentence 2? If you see, sentence 1 and 2 as they are connected to each other. Yeah, it says suggested that there was a rise, and this talks about 2% of the American workforce was employed, etc. Now 3 says, while that percentage is a far cry from that of the industry area. Now, while that percentage, so obviously nothing can come between 2 and 3. So can we place it after sentence 2? After sentence 2. Right? We can't place it after sentence 1. We can't place it before sentence 1. We can't place it after sentence 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so we place it where it is. Now we read this and read it again. Yes.
I understand why we can't place after sentence.
After sentence 1. Okay, we read sentence 1 first. But science suggests that the amount of textile work in the United States is on the rise again. Now your sentence 4 is the textile industry produces the materials needed to make clothing, such as yarn and cotton. It's talking about what it produces. Now you come to sentence 2. In 2014, the industry employed so many people, making up roughly 2% of the American workforce. So if we place it in between these two, is the flow maintained? No, right? There's a logically it doesn't fit, right? So when you're talking about the amount of workers in the textile industry is on the rise, then it talks about 2% of the American workforce was employed. Then it talks about while that percentage was a far cry. So these three sentences are connected to each other. If we place this in the middle, that connection is lost. Yeah. So the focus is lost, we can say. So we keep it where it is. Right? Now we come to question number 5. Yes. What would the answer to question number 5 be? Sahas, can you tell me the answer to question number 5?
Yes.
Read the sentence. There are 2 sentences, in fact. And you have to figure out whether it is correct or not. Eliminate the options that are wrong.
D.
D. So why do you think it should be D? So if we,
Because
yeah.
well, there are various like tasks. Like,
Look at the sentence structure. When you talk about sentence structure, first thing comes to your mind is clauses. There is full stop in the middle. Is a full stop correct? No. So if there's a full stop, both the sentences should be complete sentences. Now, is the second sentence a complete sentence? No, right? So we have to combine them together. And A, so A is eliminated, B also has a full stop, C also has a full stop. And C has even further. It has studying workflow and cost is it's given as a separate sentence, which is wrong. So we go with D. So we have many American textile companies have turned inward and spent money on retooling manufacturing centers. Now that is a complete sentence in itself. So when we are adding studying workflow and cost and looking for niche markets for exact goals, we have only a comma in the middle. Is that okay? Why is it okay? Yeah, so the second part is a dependent clause, first part is an independent clause. And if we are combining the two ideas, only comma is one. Okay, now we come to question number 6. It says, which sentence, if added at this point, would best support the paragraph central idea? Now here's again a question relating to the entire paragraph. So here we are looking at a concluding sentence, right? So what is the paragraph talking about? First, we have to figure that out, right? And then we have to choose the sentence that would be fitting into it. So if you read the entire paragraph, according to industry insiders, the United States is a viable competitor in the global textile manufacturing. Not only does the United States have the means to produce raw materials such as cotton and human-made fibers, also possesses a workforce that is becoming savvier in the global market space. Many American textile companies have turned inward and spent money on retooling. So this is an important point, retooling. Manufacturing centers studying workflow and cost, looking for niche markets for particular goods. Also, increased consumer concern has made environmentally safe products made in United States preferable. So what are all these points So what is the main point of the paragraph?
The cost of this.
So different ways that, different things that is helping the textile industry to improve, right? That is what we are looking at. Now, given the different options over here, A says China continues to produce the largest amount of cotton in the world. Doesn't make sense, right? Yes? Any doubt? Okay. B says China, India, and Germany continue to produce, export more textiles than United States. Doesn't make sense. So eliminate. C says not everyone is willing to pay more for garments made from textile produced in the United States. Is that viable? No. Why? Because it says also increased consumer concern has made environmentally safe products made in the United States preferable. So this is in complete contrast to that. So this would not fit in. Now, rising costs in overseas factories have also helped drive interest in bringing the industry back to America. Yes, because this comes in as another point for increase in the American textile industry. Yeah. Okay. So now question number 7. We come to another one of those sentence placement questions. So we have to make the paragraph most logical, sentence 3 should be placed first. So sentence 3 talks about more dollars can help American textile industry maintain its prominence in the markets at home and abroad. The options are before 1, after 1, where it is now, after 4. Right? So now if we read sentence 1, while much of this tentative increase, now if you look at the particular keywords, this tentative increase. So this tentative increase, if we place this before sentence 1, does this tentative increase come in? No. Now this tentative increase is coming from where? The previous paragraph, right? So we will not place it before 1. Now coming to sentence 2. Okay, if we read the entire sentence, we haven't done that. The increase is driven by the ups and downs of the economy, a trend of Americans feeling more optimistic about the future tends to lead to an increase in consumer spending. Yeah. Now, placing it after this, more dollars can help American textile industry maintain its prominence. So, is it talking about prominence? Let's see. What is sentence 2 doing? Currently, the United States ranking 4th in the textile exports, behind only China, India, and Germany. This is talking about its position. Yeah. And sentence 3 is talking about maintaining its prominence.
Giving the support by thesis.
Yeah, supporting sentence 2. Right? So, and what is sentence 4 doing? With increased interest in retooling production at home, American textile industry's future looks much brighter. So, placing it after 4 also won't make sense. So where it is just fine. Right? After sentence 4. Now, what is the context of sentence 3?
After sentence 1.
After sentence 1. So if you look at what sentence 4 is talking about, sentence 3 is talking about this, it's maintaining its prominence. Yeah. Now sentence 2 is talking about this position. If we place it in before sentence 2, what will happen? Are we getting a logical order? Right? The logical order is disturbed. So we have to first introduce something and then talk about it. Right? So sentence 2 is introducing the point that it has a position, it has a 4th position, 4th ranking, and this is supporting it further and saying that more dollars can maintain its prominence. Right? Got it now? So these questions of sentence placement, adding a sentence, deleting a sentence require a little more time, a little more of analysis. So, got this? Yeah? Okay, do we have some more time? Let's try. 10 minutes is more than enough for the team. So we can go on to the next passage. Yeah, there's questions 1 to 7, passage 2. So you can do question number 1. That's just grammatical. So did you get the answer? Question number 1 in this.
Is it C?
Is it C? Accordingly, he titled it. Which he accordingly titled. Okay, let's see. Fit it in. Now, whenever you have a little doubt, whatever answer you get, fit it back into the sentence and see if it works. So, Sickers was asked to celebrate tropical America in his work, and he accordingly titled it. Now, if you the given sentence, it becomes a little bit of a problem. What did he title? He titled the Celebrate America or his work? The work. We're talking about the work, right? So is this bringing clarity? No. So we eliminate A, right? Now, which he accordingly titled? Now, what did he title? The work. In his work, which he accordingly titled? Makes sense. Now, C says, accordingly he titled it. It's the same thing as A. Same thing as A, right? Accordingly, he titled it, or he accordingly titled it, is more or less the same thing. The same ambiguity remains. So C is also eliminated. It was titled accordingly. Again, it, what is the it? So which refers to specifically the work that we can connect. Yeah, so B is your answer. Okay, now you can do number 2. It's talking about sentence number 4. This is the long way it is. Okay, could you figure out?
Is it B?
B, where it is now.
B, where is it?
We're talking about sentence 4. Okay, now in sentence 4, if you see, they eventually ordered. So when you have a word like eventually, finally, usually it would be in a concluding sentence, right? Now, even if you look at the logical order, or in this case, it could be more or less of a chronological order. Reason for secrecy became clear when the mural was unveiled. Centerpiece work was dominated by images, etc. Then Secure's political message did not please the wealthy citizens who had commissioned his work, eventually ordered the mural to be whitewashed or painted over with white paint. So that comes in as a concluding sentence, right? Okay, so There's another one here. Okay, number 3 you can do later. We'll do number 4. Which choice most effectively combines the underlying sentences? So this is the last 2 sentences of the paragraph.
B.
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 Second
Yeah.
option.
So where do you think it should be? Now the sentence says inspired by sequels and other muralists. Full stop. This new generation of mural artists strove to emulate the old mural masters.
Like the full
Right.
stop doesn't make sense and it doesn't give that
Yeah, it's
continuity.
first of all, it's not a complete sentence also. Yeah.
It's a dependent.
And what is the relationship between the 2 parts? The first part is tells us inspired by sequels and other muralists. That is
That's
given here.
independent.
Inspired by sequels and other muralists. Is it an independent clause? It's not a complete sentence, right? But what is the purpose of it? Additional information. So it comes in as a modifier in the beginning of the sentence. It can be followed by a comma, right? So if you look at A, it has 2 commas of artists, again in commas, which is wrong. B says inspired by sequels and other muralists, comma, this new generation of artists strove to emulate the old mural masters. So that comes in perfectly, yeah. And if you look at the others, they have misplaced commas all over, which can be eliminated. So I think you can do the rest of the questions in this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You know how to do them. But one thing, you have to make sure to complete this by tomorrow. Right? So tomorrow when we come in, I will ask you why you got this answer. You should have the answer. Okay? And we'll continue with more exercises from tomorrow. Now, till now we were working on grammar, we were working on strategies. Now we will start working on timing. Right? Because timing is very important when you are answering questions in the exam. So you have to, one thing you have to do, brush up on the grammar lessons. Yeah, over the next whole week before we meet next Saturday, because tomorrow we are meeting. Now, after that, till next Saturday, one whole week, you will be brushing up on the entire grammar, so that you can ensure that you don't make mistakes unnecessary. Okay? Any doubts from today's session? Yes, you can come on. Okay. Yes, please. You can come on.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, welcome everybody. Good night.
Thank you, ma'am.
I will leave once there. If I have any particular thought, then
Okay, yeah, you can do that.
like if I don't understand something.
Okay. Yes. So what did we have here? Is it this one?
I kind of thought it.
Okay, we'll go in here. So one said. Now, why did we place it where it was? Right? Now the sentence is, let's talk about sentence number 3. More dollars can help the American textile industry maintain its prominence in the markets at home and abroad. Right? Now you first read all the sentences as they are given. Yeah. First one says, while much of this tentative increase is driven by the ups and downs. Now what is this referring to? You go back to the previous sentence, previous paragraph, right? It's talking about the technology plays a large role in the profits of American textile manufacturing. With new machinery and advanced system, United States factories can be on the cutting edge of the product design, research, and development. Right? So now you come back to this. Well, much of this tentative increase is driven by ups and downs of the economy, a trend of American feeling more optimistic about the future tends to lead to an increase in consumer spending. Right? So this point is actually related to the increase we are talking about in the previous paragraph, the previous point. So we will not put it before sentence 1, right? Now coming to sentence number 2, as given. Currently, the United States ranking 4th in the textile exports, behind only to China, India, and Germany. Now, what is this?